coming to us from Chicago. So much to get to, but I'm like so juiced. I was watching these like goal line runs. This kid, Joe Milton, just trucking, running through people all night last night while everybody was watching basketball but me. Joe Milton to the Giants, Jets. What do you make of him?
I think just any sort of developmental plan that a team might have where he gets to sit, like you mentioned, that would probably be ideal because the tools are undeniable. I think it's more about kind of the refinement and the nuances of the position. So if you can get him into a place with a decent quarterback developer where he'll have a long runway, I think that that's probably the move.
Is Josh Allen fair? We're talking raw. We're talking like maybe needs some finessing. I mean, so did Josh Allen coming in. Accuracy, the arm, the mobility, the fearlessness. 1-year starter, obviously, with Milton, so he does need that development. But is that I hate the player comp, but I'm a joke because I always make them.
I assume it's probably a little bit further to go than Josh Allen had, considering he was a top 10 pick and Joe Milton is probably more of a developmental home run swing. But if you're trying to talk yourself into tools, I think that's a pretty good place to start.
All right, you're in Chicago. Is there like a new facial hair thing going on? What's happening with this?
I do have a mustache, yes.
What is this? What's happening?
It happened a couple weeks ago. I hadn't had a beard in a while, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. And as soon as I got the stamp of approval from my wife, that's all I needed. So I'm going to keep it for a while.
She
likes it. That's all that matters.
Okay,
yeah.
I love that. Was there a DJ on top of Wiener Circle in Chicago, like Marshmallow? Did I make that up? Did you hear this?
That sounds right. I'm sure that probably happened.
No, it literally happened yesterday. They set up a DJ thing on top of Wiener Circle. I think it was Marshmallow. Maybe somebody who can fact check that. I figured you were there. I figured maybe that's where the mustache came from. I had to ask.
I was not there, unfortunately. I'm sad to have missed it, though.
It was 2 days ago. Sorry, Marshmallow. Old news, old news. Let's get to stuff that's going on because it's all very exciting. We're 16 days away from the NFL draft, finally. Caleb Williams, let's just do it. He's going to go first overall. He should, if that happens. Like, what are realistic expectations for the Bears? Carmen Vitale of Fox Sports covers the NFC North in and out, and she got me excited about what this team can be with him under center.
I absolutely think if things break right, they could be a playoff team in the NFC.
Woo!
Right now, I think they have the 8th best Super Bowl odds of any team in the NFC. But if you look at kind of that second tier of teams, Dallas is in a little bit of a transition. The Rams and Packers were great last year. Can they keep that up? I think they'd have to get a little bit lucky. I don't think they're one of the 7 best teams right now, but if he can come in and play solid football, they have a really good situation for a rookie quarterback. And this is a top 10 defense down the back half of the season after they traded for Montez Sweat. So I think there is a solid enough roster where he doesn't even have to be CJ Stroud. You know, if he's 60-70% of a Justin Herbert or CJ Stroud, the guys who have been incredible as rookies, I think they can be a competitive team right away.
What do you think they do out there at 9?
It's a great question. If one of the receivers is there, I still think they should take one. Keenan Allen's 31. He is not under contract past this season. I also think that you still need 3 receivers in the modern NFL. And if you drop Rome Odunze next to Keenan Allen, who does a lot of his work in the slot, I don't think you have to talk yourself into that. So if one of those 3 guys is still there, that's probably the decision I'd make.
Some people are saying Brock Bowers. You're saying a wide receiver. I would love that. And then you're working yourself into some excitement. I mean, the Bears could be a playoff team in that world because you're a really talented quarterback walking into a better situation than most quarterbacks walk into. It's a lot of faith in Shane Waldron. For some reason, I have the faith in Shane Waldron.
He's done a really solid job. If you look at what happened over the last 2 seasons in Seattle, they were a borderline top 10 offense in 2022. And last year they took a step back, but they were dealing with so many offensive line injuries last season. Charles Cross missed time, Abe Lucas missed time. And I actually think that staff did a really good job of keeping it together and piecing it together while dealing with all of that. So I have faith that the floor of that offense can be very high with him as an offensive coordinator, and they have the supporting cast talent-wise.
I keep thinking about the funny character in this is Chicago. Just Chicago, whether it's the team, the organization, the ownership, and the fandom, the fan group, the media group, which I believe is one of the more unique ones. The temperament of Chicago media is incredible. Is Chicago ready? How do you, if you were to guess, how they're going to embrace the Caleb Williams experience? Is the patience there? Is through losses to Jordan Love and company and a loss to Sam Darnold? Is it going to be supportive? What is Chicago's temperament right now with this?
I think if we take anything from the Justin Fields experience, if there are any moments to grab onto, the city of Chicago and the Bears fan base will grab onto them. This is a place that is desperate for any excitement at quarterback and has been for a really long time. You think about how fervent the support for Justin Fields was from a huge chunk of the fans here.
Yeah.
If Caleb Williams has success, if there are moments on Sunday that you can get excited about, I think that it's going to be full steam ahead. I have no concerns about that.
What do you say to fans who don't want Caleb Williams, who just think like, it's like they don't want the healthy, good relationship? They're so used to the bad ones. What do you say to those fans?
Just step back for 2 seconds and be honest with yourself about what you've had to endure. I'm 36 years old. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've turned the Bears on Sunday, and the quarterback is the reason I was excited to watch.
It's so true.
For so much of my life and so much of my fandom, the most exciting thing that could happen is the Bears got to stop on defense and they were returning a punt. Yeah. That was it. That was the thing to look forward to. Having a chance to want the offense out there, that is an experience that I'm ready to embrace.
Yeah, especially when you have like the Loves of the world coming in, and like who knows, the Vikings might have an exciting backup to Darnold that they're developing. Like they have to nail it, and Caleb's got, you know, Brian Poles is doing his thing. I'm very excited about, cautiously, because I'm like, am I going to feel dumb about this in like 3 months or a year from now? I'm cautiously very, very excited. Let's move on to some other NFL stuff. We're so happy that you're joining me to like sort of go over and get my head straight on all these things. Robert Mays, you guys can check out his podcast, all of his work, all the time. And I just wanted to get into a little bit of the JEROD MAYO of this all, because fascinating with this wild card Patriots team. Here's what he said to ESPN this week about the Patriots rebuilding process. He said the Texans have been building the team for 2 years before they got Stroud in that position. I'm not asking for patience, but I kind of am. It's a process. It's not only about the quarterback. Obviously, you want to have that QB1 and build around him, but it doesn't always happen the way you want it. A little hedging going on, a little foreshadowing, little like, please embrace me. What do you think about this and how they should handle the 3rd overall pick?
I love hearing it because I have been team trade down, I think, since the beginning of this process. If you look at the roster, there are just so many holes.
Yes.
They still have a hole at left tackle. They have no pass catchers. And this is a team, especially on offense, it's really starting over. It's essentially starting from square one. And if you're in that position, it helps so much to be able to stockpile draft capital. And that's exactly what they could do if they were to trade down. I mean, just consider a timeline with the Vikings. If they were to get 11, 23, and a first-round pick next year just to start, that is a great place to begin any sort of rebuild. And if the Patriots are being honest with themselves, that's where they are right now.
Yeah, it's all, to me, it's all about Elliott Wolf. Because JEROD's out there saying, we could have this Texans-like turnaround. Well, you don't have Nick Caserio, who I think had a pretty big chunk to say about what happened with the Patriots, at least behind the scenes or in some, like, you know, cell beneath everything next to Ernie Adams, like clinking a mug on the bars. They were let out once a day to get some sunshine. But it'll you know, is Elliott Ron? Is like what is, are we nepo babying? What are we doing here? Like, it's so freaking fascinating what they do. But like you're saying, glaring holes and very under the radar. Like I was asking, I forget who it was, Deshaun Jackson, I was saying, because he's so down on the Bills. And I go, how bad are the Bills going to be? Like Patriots better record? He goes, yeah. I think it'll be like that. So it's super fascinating because, you know, the odds of them winning like 5 games is if you look at the like FanDuel Sportsbook, it's insane. But I like the undersell over deliver of it all when it comes to that. Now, and this week on your show, the Athletic Football Show, y'all did a deep dive on all of the pass catchers in this year's draft class. Is it Marvin Harrison Jr. and everybody else? And if so, what is it that makes him stand alone?
I think there's still a gap between him and the other 2 guys that are projected to be drafted in the top 10. I think that says more about Marvin Harrison Jr. than the other 2 guys. Dane Brugler, who does a phenomenal job for us at The Athletic, he said that Malik Neighbors would have been his #1 player in each of the last 2 drafts, not just receiver, #1 player in each of the last 2 drafts. So that says that Marvin Harrison Jr. is just a special prospect. And when you watch him, so many of these college offenses, LSU is a good example. You know, these guys are playing in so much space. They're playing in the slot all the time. They're not being asked to do exactly what an NFL team is going to ask them to do. And then you turn on Marvin Harrison Jr. tape, he's just an NFL receiver right now. The releases, how nuanced his game is, how refined it is. He almost makes it look so easy that I think people are missing everything that he has to his game. And that may be some of the reasons that people are talking themselves into Malik Neighbors and that gap has shrunk for some folks. But I think that this is just a special group of receiving talent, and he's the headline guy in that group. Love
that. And I'm sure J.J. McCarthy's old coach is going to grab somebody there for his Chargers. And you look at J.J. McCarthy, it's sort of fascinating. He's interesting, he's intriguing, and he's shot up mock drafts in the past few months. He's been rumored to go 2nd overall. Why the skyrocket rise here? What is going on?
There's some people who follow the draft really closely. I mentioned Dane before. He thought that he'd be kind of a top 15 pick, even going back into the fall, just because when the process began, it was going to be easy for coaches specifically to talk themselves into this guy. If you're a team like the Vikings and those top 3 quarterbacks are going to be off the board by the time you can make a trade up, I think it's easy to look at JJ McCarthy and the skill set that he has, the success that he had, and say, even if he doesn't have the ceiling of a Caleb Williams or a Drake May, I can win with this guy on a rookie contract. And I think so many teams are in that position where they just need an answer. It's easy to get there with JJ McCarthy.
Okay, my producer looked at your timeline on Twitter, and so did I, and we realized that you are very passionate about food, okay? Food, you not knowing the Wiener Circle thing, kind of a strike against you, to be honest, because that's an iconic food spot in Chicago that no Chicagoan actually goes to. But I'm going to ask you to take your 2 main interests and combine them, giving us some delicious food comparisons for some of the top draft prospects. Let's start with Caleb Williams. Your homework assignment was what is your food comparison for Caleb?
I think Caleb Williams is kind of an avant-garde, like molecular gastronomy sort of restaurant. Talking about Chicago, like Caleb Williams is like a Linea, right? Where you have, but the thing with those restaurants, the ones that are really great, like the truly special ones, they also are very good at the nuts and bolts cooking. That's the baseline of it all. And I think that becomes the question with Caleb Williams. We know he can do the fancy stuff that no one else can pull off, but can he still do the nuts and bolts cooking? Can the temperatures be right? Because there's so much on his tape where you just don't see that down-to-down consistency because it's not what he was asked to do. So at the high end of it, he's a 3 Michelin star restaurant, but that kind of cooking can go wrong when it's not rooted in fundamentals.
Honestly, in no disrespect, I mean, that ownership group is amazing. What they've done is amazing. I will leave there and be like, where's the McDonald's? Like, I'm hungry. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, the sea foam that I just ate, or like whatever, you know, the creme brulee shaped as like a piece of air floating in the whatever, doesn't do it for me. But Caleb will, because he's got those fundamentals. That's well said. Okay, how about Jaden Daniels? What's the food comp?
Jaden Daniels for me just feels like a really, really good burger. You know what you're getting, but the ceiling is limited, but the floor is also very high. And I think that's what Jaden Daniels is. If you surround him with the right talent, he's going to be successful in the NFL, especially on a rookie contract. Look at what he was at LSU. If you put the right receivers around him, they can have the best offense in the country. He can be the best quarterback in the country. But I still think that compared to the other guys, the ceiling is just a little bit lower than a Drake May or a Caleb Williams is going to give you.
How long is the longest time that you would wait in that Al-Shabaab line in West Loop?
I don't wait in the line. I think that I put my name in it. I would always go to the Haymarket across the street.
Of course.
There are enough bars around there, either Lone Wolf, Haymarket.
Yeah.
Just go sit and drink while you wait for that burger.
What is the longest you have waited for an Al-Shabaab burger?
Probably like 2 hours, I would assume.
So stupid.
You just make an afternoon out of it, though.
That's true. You
just go hang with the buddy that you're going to eat with. Just make your day in the West Loop. That's a fun way to spend some time.
That is the move, and that is the burger in Chicago. Okay, how about Drake May? What is Drake May's food comp?
Do you like uni?
No. I've never had it. I shouldn't say that.
So uni is like sea urchin, right? And some people love it. Some people think it's like the height of delicacy. Some people hate it. The texture is just not for them. They don't enjoy the experience. That's what Drake May feels like. There are so many people that I know that evaluate quarterbacks and they see Drake May and like, that guy's got it. Whatever it is that makes special quarterbacks, the aggressiveness, the movement, the talent, he's got it. And there's some people who watch Drake May like, I just don't see it at all. I can't believe that we're mocking this guy in the top 3. So the most divisive quarterback for me deserves the most divisive food.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's not for. Have you ever had it? Are you into it?
I don't like it because texturally it's just not for me, but I understand why other people do, and that's how I feel about Drake May.
It's like
even though I do like Drake May.
Or blue cheese. He's the most polarizing prospect. Where do you think he goes before you go?
In the top 3 somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington looked at Jaden Daniels and say, we just want to hit the double. We just want to make sure we're getting a guy in here who's going to raise the floor of our team. But I have a hard time imagining that either the Patriots or some other team that's coming up isn't going to take Drake May in the top 3.
This is a great draft. I really don't know what's going to happen, and it's so loaded with talent, and it's going to just change the complexion of so many teams in the race to get back to goodness, greatness, or at least, you know, better than where Chicago was last year. Robert Mays, we love you. Nobody talks about uni and burgers like you do, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much.